Hello and welcome to Mooks and Monsters. I'm Rob Ward.
And I'm Tim Niederreiter, and this is episode 115 of the podcast. Giving
Today,
Tim... Sorry, go on.
We want to retry that one.
Yeah, let's try it over. Sorry about that. You can take the lead after I say the episode number. How about that? We'll just agree on that.
Sounds good.
Okay, go.
Hello and welcome to Mooks and Monsters. I'm Rob Ward.
And I'm Tim Niederreiter, and this is episode 115 of the podcast.
And today we're going to be doing a little bit of a special episode today. We're going to be giving Tim some advice or critiques on his game mastering.
Indeed. I'm starting probably starting a new game sometime early next year. If not, probably early next year. I'll be starting running Mutants and Masterminds again, hopefully regularly. I would like some, because I've tinkered with systems. I'm still very interested in gaming, and I've never really stopped being interested, but I haven't had a regular game group in some time. So I'm concerned that I could use some tips and stuff. And I was never a perfect game master, who is. So there's a few things that have kind of been bothering me about the way I've run games in the past few years when I've had the chance. Foremost among those is kind of the dialogue, but that is kind of a detail, but it does bother me, is how I've often I'm not sure if I should report dialogue, as in, for those of you who aren't into the nerdy terms of fiction writing, reported dialogue is where you just say they said X as a narrator, versus the putting in quotation marks and having direct dialogue. And I think I should steer more toward direct dialogue, but I get nervous about it,
Okay, yeah, I mean, trying to distinguish a couple of weird characters from each other, especially because in your settings you usually go for monsters.
Yeah, really weird characters.
Really odd, really unusual characters. If you're looking for dialogue, because I tend to, this is one of my strong suits as an actor and as a GM. I mean, it does get difficult, because I remember being in a campaign where they met this character before I anticipated, and I had to throw a voice there, and it wasn't the best. But try a catchphrase with the character first.
Okay.
Or just like a word or some sort of verbal tick.
I've noticed that works in when I write fiction too. It's just hard to come up with that on the fly, but I could plan that out.
Yeah, I mean, like, if you know for a fact that they're going to be meeting some sort of character.
Something like a merchant, say.
Yeah. Another way to look at it, because a tick or a catchphrase or some sort of accent usually helps me.
Yeah.
I also like to think, if this was a movie, who would be playing this character?
Good idea. Yeah, I like that one.
Yeah. Because I have, there's several, it can be people in your life, people, celebrities, a mix of the two. Because I tend to, personally, I have an idea of what this character looks like and how they carry themselves. And as soon as I get that, I have a role. And then I have to cast that role. Okay, who would be in that role?
Right. So it's something like Homer Simpson as portrayed by Gary Oldman. Or something.
Well, those two are very distinct characters.
I know. I was just making a joke, because that was a Simpsons joke at one point.
Oh, okay.
Where Homer thought Gary Oldman should be the actor to play him.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, sorry about that.
Yeah, but I mean, like, if you have a merchant, what kind of merchant is this? Is this a good merchant, bad merchant, just kind of neutral merchant?
Right. Or maybe he's a junk dealer, because I'm dealing with a modern setting. So he's like a pawn shop guy. And
all right,
probably
shop,
a seedy type dude. Yeah.
Little rougher, little more able to be little on the sleazy side.
Yeah.
So you might want to are they like, what do they look like? Are they big? Are they small? Are they?
Yeah, I mean, I see what you mean. We don't have to go into a specific character right now, but yeah, I'm imagining.
Hmm.
I mean, and because there's a stereotype that comes to mind when I think pawnbroker
Hmm.
too, which is generally somebody who's kind of small and seedy and maybe a little weak. I don't know if that's if anyone's a pawnbroker, a pawn dealer out there, a pawnbroker out there. Don't I'm not trying to insult you. It's just that's just the stereotype in my head that popped into mind, the image that popped into mind when I picture a pawnbroker.
Yeah, and
And
a stereotype's not like a bad thing in a game when you
yeah,
have if they're just gonna be one character that you're glossing over. Like I made a gun dealer a old prospector type
hmm
in one of my games just because they needed someone to talk to.
right, yeah, and I like that. I like the idea of like or like imagine this character, but then give them a single trait is something I like
Hmm.
doing. This is the guy who's really arrogant, or this is the guy who's like a wolf, is a good example. A wolf is a good example of that too, because there's a bunch of different connotations of that, and you can decide which ones those are as you play. So there's lots of room to develop. It's like an animal imagery or whatever, even if the character is just a
Yeah,
person, a human.
that is a wonderful way to look at that. Um, so like with all those tools, Tim, I would just say uh, go for it.
Yeah,
Um, instead of worrying like how it's going to come across to your players, um, just go full, just go balls to the walls on this character. Um, and if it's a little crappy, just finish out the scene, and then you can like dial it back the next time. But
hmm yeah, no, that makes sense. I mean, and that speaks really, really strongly to me because it's very similar to how a rough draft works in fiction. At least that's what I've discovered recently. Where you've got okay, I'm going to put a bunch of stuff out there. And if it works, I'll keep it for the final draft. If it doesn't, I won't. I won't keep
Mhm.
it. And it can work a similar way in a game, even though we only have the one draft in a sense, because the next time that character could appear, I can tone it down. Yeah. So
Yeah.
that really is really cool. Or decide what level I want to be at. Uh, yeah. No, that's great. Thanks.
Oh,
So
absolutely. Yeah.
yeah. So as far as that, I think that gives me a lot to think about with NPCs, and I know we've talked about NPCs a lot and playing the characters, and that's why I kind of wanted to get into that zone because it's one of the areas I feel I'm the weakest as a game master. Because I think I can do the world building. Obviously, I do super heavily, and I do that pretty well. But there is actually one element of world building too, where I think could be interesting. I mean, I'm not sure how much either of us can really help each other with it because it's very much an execution thing. But I'm
Hmm.
curious about how to deliver. I mean, like how to move things along so I can get to all these different cool locations and cool characters that I have in my head and in my games. Because I get kind of bogged down. I guess let me put it this way. Yeah,
Hmm.
I get bogged down, especially in combat situations, and because Mutants and Masterminds is such a fluid, a really fun combat system for me anyway. Uh, it's easy to get lost in that and just do one big fight every session, you know.
Okay.
And I'm kind of curious as how I can try to get away from that structure.
All right. So you're looking to get away from the classic. Here's the big fight of the episode structure.
Right, especially because usually those big fights take place all in one. The way it works, I mean, and there's mechanics in Mutants and Masterminds that allow you to kind of get away from this, because the
Hmm.
classic structure of a superhero story is you meet the supervillain and you come off worse, right? You don't get them right away. You may something bad might happen. They just escape, whatever.
Hmm.
You can see this in a TV show like The Flash or whatever. Their shows aren't perfect, but they do this the comic book structure of we met the supervillain got away, we're going to work to find a way to counter the supervillain, and then we beat the supervillain at the end. And that's kind of more what I want to get to, where we've more separate things, parts of the story. Because right now it's just kind of one wham bam huge battle, you know.
Yeah. Well, because something I noticed in your games is that it's not really if we advance the plot or don't advance the plot. Um, it's a little irrelevant. I would
Oh,
say
yeah, that's a good point.
make that your goal. Um, make
Mm,
it your goal to advance the plot. And if you're going a little too fast, then you can throw in a side quest episode or something.
yeah,
Um, but something also is you can still have that big fight or or something like that, and you just need to find a different place in the section to have it instead of at the climax. Maybe
right.
just start out the session with you're all at headquarters when suddenly, boom, there's a giant monster that busts through the door.
Yeah, and then the rest of the episode we have to find out where that came from, that kind of thing. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
No, that's great. I really like that. I think that's a great piece of advice because trying to focusing more on story than on mechanics and the supervillain and stuff is that's kind of I think that's why I fell into a rut with Mutants and Masterminds is I was just got so fixated on mechanics and how to
Mm-hmm.
make stuff work, which is it's a hobby horse for me, but it doesn't make a great game to focus on that stuff.
Well,
Uh,
no, and I mean, there's also you have opportunities to let your if you've been playing the game after a while, especially in Mutants and Masterminds, you can let your players have a little breathing room to play around.
right.
Because not everything has to be, go, 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 go. Um,
Absolutely. Yeah.
you can have, if you're feeling a little bit more of ambitious, you can just ask your players, all right, so you're in your headquarters, you still have the clues from last time. What are you going to do
Right.
with all this information? And it seems like if there's one scientist on the team, I'm going to research, and the rest can be like, we're going to look for more clues, and you can give them little opportunities to flesh out their characters. You can give them opportunities to um, do that type of stuff.
That's a great idea. I mean, downtime kind of activities, that's a great thing to emphasize too, because that gives a feel of there being more going on, even if I have to play a relatively short session and therefore don't have a lot of room for, multiple combats or whatever, if that's what I was going for, which it isn't really.
Mm-hmm.
But, multiple encounters is kind of tough to do when you're not streamlining things and streamline and asking players what they want to do in their downtime is a great way to speed things up and get them to get some agency in the game too. So yeah, I really like that idea. Yeah. As far as other things, I mean, I feel like that really covers most of it because I mean the NPCs and the dialogue. Oh, there
Mm-hmm.
was one other thing that I kind of want to talk about a little bit, and that's kind of peripheral stuff. The little
Okay.
things, the handouts and things, additional stuff for the game. Because I think that
Mm-hmm.
would help one of my players is going to be pretty new to role playing, and I think that would really help him get involved if I had handouts or similar things. And now that I think about it, I have a little Kindle,
Sure.
one of these little Kindle Fires. And I was
Mm-hmm.
thinking because this is a modern setting, right? It makes more sense. Or I could email him something. I could send him something I could send him a text message or something. Do stuff like that outside the game to get his character more involved. Like, or not outside the game, inside the game, but outside
Mm-hmm.
the normal playing area, right? Like, I could hand him the Kindle and it's got a profile of a supervillain on it or something. Uh,
That'd be a very cool way to get them to get them familiar with the scene and the setting. Um, and that'd be very good to get them in the mindset of the game. Um, and I'm gonna throw something at you. And this is not like I don't mean this in a bad way.
sure.
But if this is a critique, I'd say sometimes your worlds are they're big. You're a science fiction
Yeah.
writer. You have the Pillar universe. You have all these gigantic moving things. Sometimes that gets a little overwhelming for a
Mm,
player.
absolutely. Yeah.
Because when when we ran the kind of the triumvirate with the Baron, like it that was a good level. Like I understand what was going. There's two groups and we're fighting each other,
Hmm.
and I kind of understood how the system worked. Sometimes though, it will get in other games I played with you, particularly Pillar Universe, I want to say.
I don't know if we. Oh yeah. There was the Blades in the Dark one we did. Yeah,
Yes.
that was.
Sometimes
I
that,
rushed that one a little bit. It was not my best work, but yeah, I see what you mean
yeah,
there.
yeah, it gets a little, it could be a little overwhelming. So I'd say, are you going to have this on Earth?
Yeah. This is gonna be on Earth, but I mean, it will span the stars eventually. Spoiler alert
Okay.
for my players. I started out in one in one city, very much analogous to something like Chicago or a little smaller probably than that.
Cool.
Yeah, but
Because if you're going to
I
be,
want there to be travel to other planets and stuff eventually.
sure, yeah. I just say that if, don't make the build to the insane alien world. Because even in like the DC and Marvel worlds where they go to another planet, you kind of get an idea of what you're dealing with.
Yeah,
Yeah. So I would just say watch out for that. That's going to be the biggest thing.
good advice, and I think that's spot on. It really does resonate with me because I do tend to rush to get to the thing I want to do, right? And
Mhm.
I need to want to do the game that where I'm at, right? I mean, it makes sense to you play the game, the session that you have. You don't play I mean, and that's one of the problems I've always had as a game master is I want to do this crazy setting. I want to start a new game and do that instead of doing this old game, and that's part of the challenge of. And this, I mean, I get that in every aspect of my life, basically. So, anyway, yeah, thank you, and I think that does it for my questions. Any other advice you want to give me?
Um, well, that's what I can. That's what came to mind when I heard that you're running a new game. But yeah, I feel like just with as far as rushing to get to the part you want, I'd say just sit back and enjoy the characters banter with each other.
Yeah,
I mean,
no,
that's
it's
that's half of the fun I have because I,
good
I
point.
love to see like different people from different walks of life interact with each other.
Yeah, and I already know the characters that people are going to be playing because actually I have played a session of this game or two before with the
Hmm.
same characters, and I think it's going to be. I think that alone will be really funny and fun to do. So yeah, that really rings true for me too.
Cool.
All right, yeah, all right. This has been of Mooks and Monsters. So
Yep, you can find us on mentalsolidpublications.com. You can email us at podcast@mentalsolidpublications.com. You can find us on Twitter. I'm at Stagehead. Tim's at T Native Writer. We're hosted by Lipson. Like us on Facebook.
thanks for listening, everybody, and happy holidays, safe travels.
Happy holidays.